Okay, so money morning routine today. This is the day after I closed out my budget for September and started my new tracking period and budget for October. So the first thing I always do, so I went to the bank yesterday and I deposited my paycheck. I pulled out cash from my cash envelopes. I haven't even looked in my wallet here. So here is the cash teller slip. I pulled out the cash that I need to not only stuff my variable cash envelopes, but to also, because I already hit all of my sinking funds goals, the only thing that I'm really contributing for savings as far as cash is just my 100 envelope challenge. I'll be stuffing that a little bit later. But today, so go ahead and also my Christmas sinking fund, I already hit that. So what I did is I just literally put this in a separate savings account. So I'm ready to spend this money. $2,029 is what I saved for that. So that envelope can go away. Now, as far as my budget goes, here's what I completed. And this is the same routine every single time I get paid. This is what you will always see from me with my paycheck. So the first thing, all right, let's look at my budget. The first thing I did is I made sure I took care of online transfers that needed to happen. And I wrote down in the actual column of my budget the things that I actually completed. Number one, all right, so I pulled out $180 for James's grandma. She helps watch him a little bit before and after school. My checking account cushion, that's just there. $300 cleaning. We hire a cleaning crew every Friday. This is my half. Also, I did $450. I deposited and transferred into our joint account for baby Dante expenses. Now, I also took care of, so that $50, I have that already pulled out. I'm going to be stuffing that here soon. I made all of these transfers that are highlighted in this pink color. Pink on my budget here just means these are online transfers. These are separate savings accounts at my credit union. So I also decided to move, we got a new pest control company, so we're kind of in this transition period. So $50 for my pest control, I actually just moved it down here to my homestead. So I'm saving $154 for my homestead instead of $104. So all of those online transfers have been made. So that's what I did with my budget. I'm paying myself first. I'm taking care of my future expenses first before paying for my bills. So if we go over to my expense tracker, you can see that I started the process of my new tracking period. We have my paycheck, we have Chris's income, which I did mention in a couple of my Instagram posts. Chris is now only working part-time because he's helping watch baby Dante during the day so I can work, which means that in November, I'm going to be increasing my income to cover the loss of his income. It's just one of those things that decisions we had to make for our family in order to, I don't want to be putting Dante in daycare. So we decided to have Chris stay home and watch him so I can work. All right. So Eileen, so grandma for James, 180. Also, here's another big one. You can see on 10-1, it says envelopes. I'm just going to put a line through it. And I always write on the side, don't count. What does this mean? Because I have separate expense trackers for every area of movement in my life. For me, it just makes sense. If you want to track all of your cash, debit card spending, credit card spending, all of that on one expense tracker, that's totally fine if that makes sense to you. For me, it's easier to separate them out. So I have a expense tracker for cash, an expense tracker for my debit card spending, my checking account. So I read a line through this because the money I pull out from my envelopes, this is the cash envelopes I'm going to spend throughout this tracking period, right? All of my different cash envelopes, all of my variable spending, I pulled it out in cash. So I'm going to be tracking the cash spending over here of that cash. So I don't also want to include it here because then I'll be double counting it. So I'm tracking the spending of that cash on my cash expense tracker. So this line just reminds me, hey, Miko, when you're closing out your budget, don't count this transaction. Even though it did decrease your balance in your checking account, you're not counting it to close out your budget because all that cash spending will be tracked over here. I did end up getting gas yesterday, which you can see I already wrote here on my spending tracker for my gas. This gives me $130 left for this month in October. And then cleaning and then baby Dante. So this is what you will see every single time in the beginning of my expense trackers at the top, starting at every month. For instance, let's just go over to September. Same thing, TBM paycheck, Chris income, envelopes, Eileen sinking funds, Dante cleaning. Same thing, every single time I'm paid. I have a payday routine, which is why you're going to see the same type of expenses happening at the top of my expense trackers every single time. Same on my cash expense trackers. You're always going to see me saving cash. This month on my expense tracker, you're only going to see that I'm saving for my 100 envelope challenge and not sinking funds because I already hit my sinking funds for this year, which means I need to start my 2025 sinking funds and figuring that out. I need to fill out my sinking funds tracker. I'll get to that. Now, I finally did get my November and December calendars completely done, which means now I can start actually working on my finalized budgets for those months. So I got that done yesterday for those two calendars. That is my Monday morning routine.